It is time to welcome in Jim Lynch. It's time for Cover Your Assets. Jim is an independent voice dealing with things from Wall Street, the economy, politics, sports. Many years, many years of experience, those subjects and more. And he's got pictures being splashed all over Facebook by the better half recently. Good morning, Jim.
And good morning. I claim no, ain't me. I didn't do it.
I see all those pictures of you and the missus, and I'm pretty. You're a very active person there, Jim.
Yes, I have been in my day. In my days.
in my day, your day is still here. All right. Well, anyway, we will we'll go and open up the spigot here this morning on Robin Hood Radio. And where would you like to start? You know, with the things that people have talked about that I see, and it's locally, it's nationally, and it's internationally, and that is our job market has totally changed, and it will never really ever be the same after COVID.
I totally concur, and where I'd like to start really represents this kind of thing. I referenced Mr. Albert Gore in the 20 years ago, but actually 25 years ago. He warned us of climate change. And that climate change is more than upon us out west, which is drought-driven, fires, this tremendous heat that we have. That plays into the workforce who suddenly realizes, not suddenly, but a lot of people are acknowledging that they're doing the kind of work, the way they're asked to do it, doesn't fit with the way they want to live their lives. They've discovered that life, courtesy of the pandemic, is much more important than saying, I have got a job at XYZ. And it's more important that the working people, men and women, say, I'm doing something that I really like. It doesn't endanger my health. I don't have people who are pushing me to the brink of exhaustion. And therefore, I'm moving on. I'm moving into a new field because the new field is more exciting. It's more creative. It's more supportive of me as a worker. I'm moving to a different part of the country because where I'm currently living is too expensive. And while I make a lot of good money, I pay a lot of taxes, not only on my salary, but on my home. And also there are people in certain industries serving the public who are just sick and tired of working for peanuts while the proprietor makes a lot of money and with the ability to use good accounting keeps a lot of that money. We must remember in this society we live in, most people not only get a paycheck, but they get the taxes taken out of their paycheck every time they get one. Is dawning on people that many in our society, particularly corporate owners, executives, they manage not to take a salary. They manage to use a lot of tax deductions that are really only available to people who have good accountants who can figure them out. And so there's unfairness in wages versus those who've got the capital. I think that's playing very much into this idea of I want a better life, and I'm not going to work like a slave just to take home peanuts. It's so sad that we've had this fight now for years about raising the minimum tax to the minimum wage to $15 an hour. When indeed these people have been watching the headlines with regardless of the stock market, the billionaires making all of this money in corporations and by not paying taxes. So I think all of these factors are coming to bear with the pandemic and people realizing that life is worth more than the security of the almighty dollar. I think that we're unfolding in terms of what we're going to do. I would expect more and more parents to begin raising their children to go into fields that are more creative, and they're going to stop saying, let's build up your resume so you can go in and work at an investment bank for 100 hours a week. And as we saw last year, investment banks started to give their employees bonuses because they were working 75 to 100 hours. This really goes back to when the Japanese had a problem many, many years ago when Japan was really coming on strong economically, and their workers were working around the clock, and some of them were actually dying of the experience. Not a lot of them, but some of them. One is too many. So I think you're right on. This isn't. I don't have the silver bullet as to where it's going to end up, but it's going to change. And I think I'm sensing that X amount of employers are beginning to change with it because they cannot afford to lose, one, very valuable people, and two, an overall group of people to basically help manufacture their product and distribute it, etc.
Now, I want to switch a little bit here, and we've been talking about this infrastructure package with the government and what it can do for the economy. And I know it's the private sector, but the infrastructure package that is being put together and looks like now it will be done. It looks like you never know to get across the finish line. But this horrible disaster that happened in Florida with the collapse of the condominiums, and obviously it's going to be due to infrastructure, the building itself. It should open people's eyes. First of all, it's just horrible, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family members who have no idea whether their family members are alive or passed, or whether they'll be able to have services. But it opens up how important this infrastructure package is, because once you get past the government and roads and bridges, which need immeasurable repair across this country, then you get into the private sector, which can probably benefit in the long run from an infrastructure package put together not only by the government but by big businesses to shore up the actual private infrastructure that goes along with it. There's a lot of positives that can happen from upgrading the energy infrastructure, upgrading the water infrastructure, the power infrastructure, pipelines, making everything more secure. This whole future of this country can be reignited by both private and public programs to start to rebuild this country where it needs to be rebuilt. And I think there's a ton of money that's in the offering here that can help the economy.
You're right on the beam. And the word that I really focus on is future of the country, because we have delayed from taking care of the infrastructure for 20, 30, 40 years. The reason being corporations didn't want to spend the money. People who are in Congress would prefer not to have the tough vote to raise taxes or whatever take it. And finally, because of the way we have begun to run our political system, which is Senator A or Congressman B, okay, yeah, I'll take the donation, and no, I'll vote against that bill because that'll create greater environmental regulations for you, and I know you say that slows your business, or cuts your bottom line. Well, that kind of self-interest has got to be eliminated. We need a national purpose, which Biden is trying to inspire in us. I want to take us back to what began to make us even a greater country after the Second World, when General Dwight Eisenhower, who came back and then as president, basically created the road system, the interstate program, where miles and miles of roads were built connecting all kinds of cities, towns, which related to manufacturing companies and farming and so forth. Well, why did Eisenhower do it? Because Eisenhower ran and won the Second World War. And he saw how important getting from point A to point B in a safe way was when he would send his troops somewhere and then they'd have to move elsewhere. And he needed good roads in this instance to do that. He also saw the need for those good roads to maintain the supply. He also saw the need for access to food and access to water. All very, very, very simple, basic things. But he basically created the roads that we are, not created them, but he gave the okay to build the things that have made us great. Well, they've all deteriorated. The bridges are falling down. The roads are full of potholes, if not actual. You drive into something and you get down 5-7 feet. The hole is that big. And this is going to be a monstrous task. In doing it, we have to do it environmentally so that we select those building materials that not only will last, but are safe in the components that make them up. We also have got to put in place regulations for the inspection of all of these things. Going right back to what you said, future of the country, the employment folks, this will create an enormous amount of jobs, but with it there will be an opportunity for a lot of people to up their game in terms of technical expertise. And there is where we go to the lower and middle classes, where people need to be educated to get better jobs and make more money. This is something that it's like just putting a square peg into the right place. That's how simple it is. Now, what's in the way of it? What's in the way of it is the Republican Party, which basically says we're for the rich guy. The rich guy doesn't want to pay any more taxes. The rich guy doesn't care that he's defended by the army and by the police. He doesn't care that he's furnished water and garbage collection and on it goes. He doesn't want to pay for it, but he'll give me, politician A, X amount of money in my pocket. We've got to get rid of this, what was created, that if you give money, no matter how much, it's okay, you can deduct it. That is totally unfair. It goes against democracy. That Joe Blow, who's got $1 billion, can spend $2 to $5 million each year on his favorite congressman because he's going to get what he wants. If you look at the coal industry, you'll understand why it lasted so long, polluting the country, polluting people, killing people, because the politicians stymied the necessary legislation to control those people. Look how long it took for us to out the cigarette companies that were killing people left and right with cancer. So this problem is simple. The solution is right there. The benefits to the overall country in terms of working better and taking care of people and educating them, it's a win-win-win-win. We have these 50-some-odd people. They call themselves Republicans. They are holding it up. And I wish Mr. Biden would begin, if he can, if it's there, I don't know the ins and outs, to begin playing hardball with the Republicans. And more importantly, I've said that now 3 or 4 times to some folks I speak with, it's time for the Democratic National Committee to create the ads that was going to go to various parts of the country, demonizing the Republicans who are holding back, taking care of the American people by holding back on what is important to them. It took the Republicans like about half hour to give $2 trillion in tax breaks when it was not necessary to particularly wealthy people. And yes, the little guy got an extra $20, $50, but that doesn't go too far in this economy, which is pretty expensive to live in.
You know, listening to you talk, I want to bring up, we only have about 6 minutes left, but I want to bring up something, and that is the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court became 6-3, people like myself and other progressives were very, 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 very worried. Now, there have been decisions that have been conservative decisions, but I can tell you I have been unbelievably surprised how the Supreme Court has stepped in while the federal government has been in chaos and given some pretty varied rulings that don't represent a 6-3 conservative split. I mean, just yesterday, they vacated a ruling that said officers had used reasonable force when they pinned a prisoner before he died. Of course, before that, they also agreed that, listen, transgender bathrooms, they sided with the LGBTQ community on that. And what they did with the NCAA as well. I mean, there's still Roe versus Wade and everything, but I think the Supreme Court has, at a very important time, shown its independence, and we really needed that. We needed that in this country.
Amen. I would also say, when Pope Francis was made Pope, I knew that we had a very big winner in terms of human rights. He recently came out praising a priest who is one who supports the LGBTQ and teaching them, nurturing them. And Francis has said he does not want the bishops basically punishing Catholics such as Joe Biden by not giving them communion, because Mr. Biden does believe in birth control, abortion. This is the Pope. He's going to go down as one of the greatest popes we've ever had. I don't know how that we had that much more time, so I just want to say this. I just want to share the blessings of my birthday, which is today, and I put those blessings out to all of you who can hear and to all of those who can't hear, who are in need of some special help psychologically, etc. So God bless you all, and particularly Marshall, who is now looking to do some pretty serious, heavy work in terms of his health.
Well, actually, it's not that heavy, Jim. It's an amazing thing. Stem cell. It's much different and much less invasive than knee replacement. And I'm glad I made it into the study, and we're going to go ahead with it. And as the head of the study said to me, this is a good first step. If for some reason it doesn't work with you, then you have the other option. But we're an amazing country, and we can do amazing things, whether it's in medicine, whether it's in healthcare, whatever. we just have to realize it and come together and realize that we can have massive political differences. We can have disagreements. We can have arguments. But if we come together as Americans, we can conquer all these problems out there. We can conquer them all. And that's what our hope is. And so today's your birthday?
Yes, it is.
Well, happy birthday.
And I thank you very much.
You know,
And I just go ahead.
no, go on.
I just wanted to follow up on, as a country, look what our doctors and nurses and scientists did, getting us on our way to getting beyond the pandemic. A super effort, an effort comparable, I think, to the Second World War in terms of people going at risk to save, help the other millions of Americans. So hats off to them. And we got a lot of work to do, but if we work together, and you said it, we can get things done that are going to be very gratifying, and we're going to feel very good about ourselves.
All right, Jim. Well, have a happy birthday and stay away from the high-calorie cake.
I shall do it. Thank you, my friend.
All right, take care, Jim. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Jim Lynch, and to cover your assets here on Robin Hood Radio. You can find Jim at robinhoodradio.com. Click on demand. Click on Jim Lynch, cover your assets.